Hey, Daily Dosers, Chris here. Happy Friday to you. You know what you're going to get today? You're going to get one obscure story that I'm going to give you no help with. Ta-da! And you're like, what else is new from you, Chris? Secondly, here's what you're going to get. You're going to get a trivia question that may be a help to all of us. We are in chapter 4 in the book of Philippians. These are famous last words. Paul is bringing it home. This little letter to this church that has supported him for 5 to 8 years now with their generosity. Now he's summing it all up. And in verse 1, if you got a Bible, read with me. If you're driving right now, look straight ahead, pay attention, just listen. Therefore, my brothers and sisters, you who I love and I long for, my joy and my crown, that is how you should stand firm in the Lord, dear friends. Therefore, because of the last 3 chapters, this is how you need to live, my friends. And by the way, do you know when you actually stand up and respond like Christians, you become my joy and my crown? That crown wasn't something that a king wore. That crown, that word there that Paul uses, is what's given out in the Olympic Games. May you rise up and become the children of God, that you've inherited that title already that's been put on you. And in that way, North Coasters and those that are watching, when you live this faith out, you become the trophies of heaven. What a great picture. Now, a random story. So now I plead with Euodia and I plead with Syntyche, great girls' names, by the way, to agree with each other in the Lord. Yes, and I ask you, loyal yokefellow, whoever that is, help these women who have contended at my side in the cause of the gospel. Oh, along with Clement and the rest of my fellow workers whose names are in the book of life. Did you get that? Because I didn't. So at this moment, I would like to thank my friend Stephen Byers, who's behind the camera, who you can't see, because he tells us what verses to teach on. And you gave a storyteller a story, and we don't know what the story is. And I'm not about to make it up for you guys. So here's what it comes down to. Paul says, after 3 chapters of my writing, now can you go back to where your squabble is? We don't know what's going on in the church with Euodia and Syntyche, but he says, can you knock it off? And church, can you stop picking sides, choosing who's right and who's wrong? Can you just get in and knock it off? And maybe that's all the story we need to know today. Maybe after 3 chapters, especially the last 15 verses where Paul writes, face your faults, not other people's. Forget the past. Focus on the future. Fight to the finish. Remember that God is coming back. Live up to what you already attained, being called children of God, and that your citizenship is in heaven. Those words rang bells in the heads of all the Philippians who read and heard them. You realize this is a Roman colony. You realize being a citizen of Rome is the greatest thing in the first century. And Paul says, you think being a citizen of Rome gives you privilege? You are a child of God. You're a citizen of heaven. Forget your past. It's been forgiven. Point out your faults and work on them, not each other's. Fight to the finish. Do this in brotherly love and do this in humility. So Euodia and Syntyche, knock it off. And those of you in the church, better make sure that you can bring peace to this situation. Man, that's good. After a couple months of doing Philippians, after a bunch of 5-minute daily doses, maybe that's all we need to hear today. That coworker you're about to go in, that boss who's a jerk, you want to be a Christian today? Knock it off. The home you left and you're not real happy with the way you left home today, when you arrive back at that home later today, knock it off. That grudge that you have against another believer, let it go. Life is short, hell is hot. People need Jesus. They don't need to see us fighting. Let it go. You're a citizen of heaven. You're a child of God. He had just got done urging us, live up to what you've already been given. So live this out. Euodia, Syntyche, knock it off. Let it go. How do you do that? Well, it follows this entire thing of saying have the same humility of Christ. Here's the trivia. Where did Jesus ever describe himself in the Bible? Matthew 11:28. When he says, come to me, all you who are weary and heavy burdened. Take my yoke, you will find rest. For I am what? Gentle and humble in heart. The only self-description Jesus ever gives of himself. I am gentle and I am humble in heart. Why don't we take gentleness and why don't we learn some humility and take it with us and practice what we've been listening to your greatest conflict and squabbles today. But Chris, you don't understand. But Chris, I'm right. I don't understand, and you're probably right. But you're a citizen of heaven and a child of God. Knock it off. Life's short. Hell's hot. People need Jesus, not Christians fighting. Whew. Paul's words, not mine, write to him.